Okay, I thought I'd start another one, just in case. So, another thing that came through my mind just now is, well, we've got these rabbits down on the lower level, right? And I'm kind of grasping at minimal details in this game at this point, but I think it's interesting to at least perceive any visual pattern that appears within the game. And one of them that appears to me is this issue of the rabbits as something that you're chasing after. You have to get at the rabbit, but the rabbit's getting away from you, right? And you keep running, and the rabbit runs further. This issue of chasing is present in a way on the second level. I mean, the the middle level, so to speak, as well, because you find these ghosts um, who are also kind of clear. You know, the rabbits are yellow, the ghosts are sort of whitish, but it's still like I think the yellow of the rabbit. I mean, you could take it to be explicitly yellow, but I think it might be more evocative of white fur. Um, Obviously, I'm making this very convenient for myself in several ways. One is because I know there is a sort of semi-influence uh, in this game that has to do with Alice in Wonderland, in which we have a white rabbit that we're chasing after, that Alice is chasing after. Shigeru Miyamoto has, I think, in more recent years, said that he doesn't really agree that this was an influence, but there's enough muddle on this topic that I'm interested at least in following it through, because I think there might be something to it. There is clearly a resonance to the idea of, jumping into not mirrors but paintings that take you to other worlds, the way Alice would jump into, behind the mirror, eating foods that make you big or small, or just plain old becoming big or small in Tiny Huge Island. I don't know. I feel like there's enough of a feeling there to make me think that there is some sort of an influence, or at least that they drink from similar sources. Because Miyamoto said later that what he meant, I think, by his Alice in Wonderland influence was just that Alice in Wonderland, like Mario, they both share this idea of a magical mushroom world. I may be getting my references very jumbled up here, so I might as well leave this path, because that's just hearsay of what Miyamoto has said. In any case, there is, this idea of a magical sort of forest world with mushrooms and fairies and so on, and therefore the fairy world involves the idea as well of tiny people, right? Tiny little beings that you can jump down into and meet them. You can go down to their level in a way and enter into fairyland. Even if it's just you as a reader reading one of these books, you can visit this world that's tiny and is at a level of zoom that's different from our world as we experience it usually. It's like you're zooming in to the world in a way. So let's kind of take that for a second. This theme then of Mario running after the rabbit, right? If I take it to be a reference to the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland that you're chasing, then you're chasing after this white thing, right, in the lower levels. And then in the middle level, you're also chasing after these white things that are ghosts. In that case, though, the ghosts are also chasing after you. If they see you've dropped your guard, they chase after you. Otherwise, they run away from you. They avoid you. However, something happens if you were to compare these two floors, because in the bottom floor, it's very much a physical kind of chase. You're chasing after a physical being. You can grab the rabbit by the neck or whatever, and that's it. You've caught this thing you were chasing. In the second floor, if you are chasing after a ghost, if you look at the ghost disappears. If you don't look, the ghost is there. So perspective begins to enter into the picture, but it's still slightly material. You're still dealing with some sort of an entity. It's just that perspective is involved in how you chase or are chased by this entity. And also, of course, a ghost is more fluffy, more airy than a rabbit. It's depicted as being a slightly cloud-like being. It's less solid. Then in the top floor, I was thinking, could I make this theory work for me and say that there is some sort of chasing that happens on the top floor? I was like, well, it depends, right? Because there's no entities on the top floor. There's no beings you chase after. In fact, that's one thing that sets this floor apart in a way, that there aren't, apart from the toads who are on every floor, there are no beings. There are rabbits on the bottom floor, ghosts in the middle floor, and no one on the top floor. However, you kind of chase after things. You chase after the end of the staircase. You're sort of trying to catch the end of the staircase, but you can't catch it. It runs away from you. You're trying to catch the painting in Tiny Huge Island, but you can't quite catch it. It seems like you're about to get to it, but you can't quite get to it, Yeah. So, I don't know. That's, I guess, something else I wanted to add to this is perhaps an issue of chasing, and chasing as becoming more material as you get down to the lower levels, a material form of chase between two objects, two objects that are physically chasing one another and grabbing one another and obtaining one another in a sense, or reaching, colliding one another, like two particles colliding, so to speak, in physical matter. And then the top floor as a chase that involves perception. Perceiving something and not quite perceiving it. You don't quite ever see the horizon of the stairs, but you're trying to, what you're trying to obtain in a sense is it is physical. You're trying to get to a physical painting. You're trying to get to a physical end of the staircase. But I feel like if I were to look at this as a chase, there's a slightly even less material aspect to it, to the chase itself. I don't know. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.